Hey guys, Mr. Thaxton here. I hope everybody is having a great day and happy Friday to you. I am excited that it's Friday because that means on Monday I will be back with you, and I'm excited about getting to see you guys again and getting to catch up with you. Um, and we will have 2 more weeks before Christmas break, so we're going to blink and it's going to be over. First, I wanted to just remind you of your 13 Colonies project. Um, the information is still on my um, Schoology page. You have the brochure project that telling you information, telling you all about what to do. I wanted to go through it 1 second with you as we look at it, and for you to focus in on what each of these four things is asking you to do. Now, if you can't find every single thing in there, it's okay, but you should be able to find everything if you just research it just a little bit more. If you're having trouble with just like one thing, send me an email and maybe I can point you in the right direction. If it's like a lot of things, you just need to keep looking a little bit longer. What I recommend, guys, is start with Dexter's in your social studies notebook. If you find, you should be able to find 95% of that. The other things that you could do is you can go to YouTube, and when you go to YouTube, the videos that I showed you guys a couple weeks ago, right before Thanksgiving break, it was the videos like this. You will find a lot of information on there. You also will find some information from my videos. When you and they're still here. Monday has a good bit of stuff. Tuesday has a little bit as well. But when I was going over the leaders of the 13 colonies, I give a lot of information in there that could be helpful. And you can kind of watch it and pause it and see the different things as you go. But there, remember, there's three of these 13 colonies. There's the New England colonies one, the Middle colonies one, and the Southern colonies one, and you can use all of those to help you with your research project as well. So don't feel like you have to only use these. You can use some videos as well to help you, especially if it's ones that we have watched already. The other thing, of course, the templates here. If you're not sure how to use the template, I tell you in the first either Monday or Tuesday video. I can't quite remember. And here's some examples of the brochure that you can use as well. Before I forget, as I'm going through this today, my dog is sitting right next to me, and he is sleeping. So if you hear some snoring in the background, that's my dog. It's not me or my anybody else at my house. This is my dog taking a nap. So let's go ahead and get started for today. On Thursday, we talked about the French and Indian War, or we watched that video of the teacher talking to us about the French and Indian War. And I wanted to just kind of go through that a little bit more with you. And because this was really the first cause or the first thing that started to get the ball rolling, for say, of the eventual American Revolution or American colonies, or the colonies winning freedom from Britain. So I found this textbook I wanted to go through real fast. I'm not going to read it word for word, but it was talking about the British and French rivalry. And you think of a rivalry, a lot of times when you think of rivalry, you think about Auburn and Alabama, or James Clemens and Bob Jones, and we think of it with sports. But it also can deal with other things. And in this case, it was countries. The British country and France were very competitive. If you go back to what we talked about the other day, countries wanted three things. power, land, and money, and they're all connected. So the more power you had, the more land you had, the more money you would have, the stronger you would be as a country. And the French and the British were going back and forth, gaining all power, gaining land, gaining money to become the most powerful in the whole world. So not only were these two armies, the two strongest armies in the world, but also they were the most rich, and they had the most colonies in the 13 colonies. I mean, 13 most colonies in North America and South America. If you look at it over here in this map, of course, the red is where the British colonies are, the 13 colonies. The green, and really everything past that as well, was also part of the France colonies. But there wasn't very many colonies there because it was harder to get to. The 13 colonies, I think you remember in the video we watched the other day, there was over 1 million people in those colonies. So they needed to move towards this red line, which was the Mississippi River area. So the British wanted to move further to the west, and the French were like, well, this is our land. And so with the rivalry that was going on, the French weren't just going to let the British take over their land. So they were competing against each other, and they ended up going into a war. And we call this the French and Indian War because the Indians played a big role in these battles, because there were some Indians that were on the British side, and there were some Indians that were on the French side. And really, the part that we really don't get into is that the Indians, or the Native Americans, were promised all these great things. The French said, well, if you help us, we'll give you this land. Remember, we aren't even here. You can just have it, and you do what you want with it. The British were kind of saying the same things. Hey, we'll give you a lot of land if you help us. So it was there was tribe versus tribe, as well as British versus French. They were fighting against each other. Another thing that was very interesting to me was, they call this the 7 Years' War. But remember, it wasn't 7 years. It was about 9 years, which that's kind of like a trivia fact you might want to know one day. But another thing that you would want to know is that the French and Indian War, a lot of the officers, and we talked about this briefly yesterday, would eventually be officers for the Continental or the American Army when they go against the British in the Revolutionary War. So that's another thing of interest. So as this war went on, eventually they come to an agreement. The French won some battles, the British won some battles, and they came in with a treaty. So, what is a treaty? A treaty is an agreement. So, for example, if I'm playing a game and I just said, okay, we're going to team up and we won't go against each other. We're just going to go against this one person. That would be an agreement or a treaty, where it's usually a written agreement. In a game, it would be just a verbal agreement. But there was a treaty that came at the end of the war, and it was called the Treaty of Paris. Paris was in France. That's where the treaty was signed, and that's why they called it the Treaty of Paris. It was a peace agreement. It was basically saying that Great Britain, or the British, was going to claim all the the French colonies in North America. So we go back up, is the British were taking all these. I want to stop right there. The British would say they won the war based off the treaty. But really what it came down to is this war took 9 years. Men were dying. Lots and lots and lots of money were being spent to for this war to even occur. So the French were like, well, it's not worth it. We don't have colonies here. You can have it. So what happened is the British took over. Well, remember, the British wanted this land to have more colonies. And so the colonists were like, oh, great, I'm going to be able to move westward and be able to create bigger plantations, bigger farms, more resources, which would be more money. The problem is that Great Britain didn't have the money to support it. So they were like, okay, we have this land, but they came up with a proclamation, and a proclamation is an announcement, like an official announcement. So the Proclamation of 1763 basically said this. It said that Great Britain said this proclamation to the colonists that, yeah, we own this land, but y'all can't go to it. You have to stay in this red area. You can't go over here to where it used to be the French territories. You have to stay put. The reason why is they couldn't control them. There wasn't enough army or men to control, but also protect them from Native Americans and then other countries that maybe they were scared that would French or whoever would maybe attack them again. So when they made that proclamation, that was really the first time that the 13 colonies began to be very upset about the British controlling them. So, with that being said, this will lead to protest and colonists being protest about taxes, and that's what we're going to spend the next 2 weeks on, is learning about what were some other reasons why the colonists were upset and were ready to almost fight and break apart from Great Britain and the British rule. One thing I want to leave you with is that these 13 colonies were important to our history, obviously, because we live in this area. But also, the British had a total of over 47 colonies in North America. So they had some up here in Canada. They had some in the islands down here below Florida. They had some in Mexico area and South America. But it was only, so out of the 47 or 50 colonies, it was only the 13 that were really starting to get upset with the British. And so that will kind of lead into what we'll be talking about, other causes of these colonists starting to be unsettled with the British. So we'll stop there today. I know it was a lot of talking. When I do these videos, I hate just kind of, I feel like I'm just talking, and you don't get to say anything. So what I want you to do is, in just a second, when this video is over, I want you to talk to the sub will help lead a discussion, and I want you to think about two things. One, I want you to think of one fact that you learned about the French and Indian War. And the second thing I want you to do is think about the word rivalry and use that in a sentence that is related to present day. So, with that said, I will stop there today. We will continue on Monday. I look forward to seeing you, like I said earlier. Remember to work on your project. After you finish your discussion on the French and Indian War with the substitute, then I would like for you to watch Scene in 10. And then if you are in school, I would like for you to do a 3-2-1. And if you're at home, you are welcome to do a 3-2-1. Some of you have been sharing that with me on a Google Docs. That's great. I appreciate that. I love seeing what y'all write. But also, if you choose not to write, that's okay as well. I think that's all for me today. I will see you guys on Monday.